Hello ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a Darksiders Genesis impressions video. A little bit of a roundup, slight semi-review. I've not played the whole game, but I did sink a good hour or so into it, and I've definitely got some impressions to give you guys. Darksiders, I love the idea of four horsemen of apocalypse. Ever since a kid, I've loved fantasy, and I've loved the idea of death being a character ever since I read a lot of Terry Pratchett. So when the first Darksiders game came about, you controlled war, and that was fantastic. I love that game. I completed it all the way through, and it's been a long time since I've said I can complete games through. I even started doing a second run to collect all the collectibles I'd never got a chance to. By the time Death appeared in Darksiders 2, I was really transforming my channel into more different types of games, and I really didn't have much time to play Darksiders, so I missed out the boat on it, and I really want to go and revisit it. I gave a shot at Darksiders 3 last year when it came out, and I have to say I didn't really like the new direction it took with the Dark Souls vibe. It was okay and I appreciate it. They did add some content updates to it that give you the arcadey feel back to it, but I prefer my Darksiders to be a good old hack and slash. So I'm pleased to tell you that even though Darksiders Genesis is now a co-op, top-down action RPG, it's got all the hallmarks of the first original game that I loved, and it's still got definitely the whole Darksiders vibe going all the way through it. So the stories haven't really ever taken themselves too seriously. You've got demons throwing one-away lines, and absolutely there's a few little jokes here and there with lots of them as you about to take them down, as you saw from the intro trailer there. It's pretty much the usual guffins. You are being sent by the council to go and take care of a demon that sided with Lucifer, and that's where the story kicks off, but expect a few twists and turns. This time you are controlling Strife and War. Strife is the brand new horseman of the apocalypse we've yet to see, and he's pretty much the gunslinger. Once you're in the game, it's simply like lots of the action RPGs that I've been showing you guys a little bit in the past. Torchlight 2 has reignited my passion for games like these. I've been playing a bunch of that, and I'll give you a heads up of what to expect in 2020 with new ones on the horizon. Darksiders Genesis has got some really good points. I love the combat. It's literally the Dark Souls combat, but it's been put into this top-down view, and it works. It absolutely works. You've still got the specials. You've still got the Wraith form that once you get basically either a few shots in or you get taken damage, you get a super ability to help you out a little bit. There's all sorts of upgrades. You can change your weapon styles, and obviously with the focus on a gunslinger, there's all brand new sets of ammo that you can use. Some are going to be fire damage, all different types of ranges of them. So they've added quite a bit of stuff to the game to flesh it out a little bit, because I was thinking, how are they going to do this? Because that's what action RPGs rely on. Usually it's lots of loot grinding and trying to get like that fantastic weapon. Darksiders Genesis doesn't necessarily have that. It's more of a hack and slash dungeon crawler, but like I said, with all the additions that you can get, like ammo, the different types of special ups and abilities, it really does add and flesh out the game so it's not too empty. I really like the fact it's almost pretty open world as well. I forget the fact it's top down. The actual maps for the game are pretty wide and big, and there's all various different ways to go. You can unlock little shortcuts by breaking down barriers, and you'll often come across. I got lost a bunch of times when I first started playing it because I just simply wasn't really paying attention to the map, expecting the game to kind of guide me through it, but it doesn't do that. That may seem like a bad thing to some people, but I think it's a good thing. I think it adds a little bit of playability to it, going off and exploring nooks to try and find extra little chests that are going to give you more abilities or more power-ups. Souls are still back in the game. They are some sort of currency. I really didn't pay too much attention to what or how they do, but all the usual sort of things you can gather, they were all going to lead to you getting better power-ups. All the combos from the previous games are in there as well. Smash the A button a few times, then quickly press the Y, and you'll be pulling off some all sort of awesome combos. For sure though, these felt much better suited when I was War rather than Strife. You can flick between the two characters at any time, and you can play cross-play local co-op with a friend and online. I do believe they're going to be adding all of this as well for the console versions too. So yeah, it's really cool that they've got that, and it just kind of makes sense. Flicking between the two characters, you've got the range with Strife and his guns, and then if you want a bit of close quarter combat, then you can flick to War. If one of them dies or loses all his health, you flick to the other one, and so it gives you another little bit of an extra life. They've both got their strengths and weaknesses. It looks like Strife can take damage a little bit less than War can, and War definitely is very good for close combat. There's the usual stuff as well, pulling levers, finding a bit of parkour in it, and that surprised me as well. Normally with games like these you're pretty static and just running along exploring the path, so the idea that you can still traverse and it's core part of the gameplay, using what you see there, like a little hook to jump onto certain things to get you across chasms. That was pretty decent as well. The world looks great. The only sort of criticism I'm probably going to chuck in is the camera. It's maybe not zoomed in enough for me. I preferred it, or I would prefer it if it was just zoomed in just a little bit more, and it does kind of mess around a little bit when it's following you as you're playing. Sometimes it gets stuck, or you can't really tell where your character is sometimes. I think the camera definitely needs tightening up. That was a bit of a criticism on the last Darksiders game, so I don't know what's happening there, but hopefully it's remedied in a future patch. So as I said, it's got all the core features from the other Darksiders games. Playing as War, I recognise some of the combos I used to pull off in the first game, and it's definitely got all the powers. So I'm really pleased. I really like the idea that combat is a bit more evasive. You can do combinations, and that adds a lot of playability to it. Like, it's missing obviously that loot chance, like a game like Torchlight or Diablo. Maybe not going to be replaying it as much, or hopefully there's going to be some way to have extra endgame content added to it. Obviously I've not got that far yet. There may be much more to it, but definitely the story wise, it took me about an hour just to get through the first chapter, and I believe there's a good 5 or 6 chapters. What I could see working really well in the future, if they could get 4-player co-op. I don't know if it would mess with the story or maybe even come out as a DLC, but imagine being able to play 4 players in a game like this. I think that'd be really cool if you could all play as either Death, Fury, War or Strife. Strife is pretty decent. Like, maybe not mention too much about him. I think with the guns it can make it a little bit easy just shooting away, but his lack of health, or he seems just to take damage a lot more than War, makes up for that fact. You can see I'm riding on one of my horses. That was a big core component of number 1, and something a lot of people were upset with number 3. Spoilers, your horse gets killed. I'm glad to see the return to that as well, although it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes you can't summon the horse, sometimes you can. If he takes like just a tiny bit of damage, you get thrown off of him, and then you have to actually have combat, but you can do a bit of combat while on the horse. So as long as you don't get hit and you're running around, you should be good to go. Looks like there's going to be a steady supply of boss fights in the game. This is the first one that I come across, and although it wasn't exactly that hard, I did defeat it on my first try, and there doesn't seem to be too much punishment for dying. It's not a Dark Souls game where you absolutely are going to be crucified if you don't go and get all your experience back. That was the thing that Darksiders had going for it. It was similar to Dark Souls, that when you died, you had to go and get your experience back, or otherwise you just lost it all. Or you could use the sort of souls to buy more upgrades. But I've not really noticed too much of a penalty for losing them or dying in this one. Like I said, you do switch out to the other character, and you can maybe see why it's needed, with range being crucial right here. I don't know how I would probably be taking him out if I was just using War. So managing your characters, making sure you've got enough health in one of them or both of them, is pretty important too. And hopefully the bosses get even more complex and pretty much bigger as well. That's another thing that Darksiders always had going for it. The bosses have been really cool. Here's some of the upgrades that you get. It's basically a way to progress through the game. You're going to be opening up certain doorways with your Vorpal blade, and it adds another complexity to it, making sure you know exactly how to aim and use it. This is another area as well. It's like a realm, I think, more or less for you just to get to the next stage, and also maybe take a look at some brand new power-ups. The controls are easy and intuitive, exactly what you'd expect. You can play it with a control pad like I did. On keyboard, I'm guessing it's just as easy to use. And I do like the fact they really mix it in with some platforming, not just, you know, the action RPG or the dungeon crawling. You're actually going to be doing a bit of jumping and light puzzle solving too. So, plus points. Story, it's there. It's got lots of voice dialogue. It's got nice little animations and lots of cutscenes as well. I really like the intro at the beginning. It's there. It's definitely keeping you occupied. The characters say a few things as you're playing through the game too. Replayability at the moment, still got to gauge that by completing the end game. I don't know if it's going to hold up as much as something like Torchlight or Diablo, but for a good arcade hack and slash game, you can't go much wrong. The graphics are great. I think it looks fantastic. Like I said, I just wish you could zoom in a little bit more on the character, and if they can get the camera sorted out, I think that will please a lot of people. But otherwise, the power-ups, the effects that happen when you take on enemies, the finishers, oh my gosh, I forgot how satisfying it is when you get a finisher and you can take down an enemy in all sorts of different ways. It's absolutely cool. There's some little light puzzle elements in there. There's lots of exploration all around, so it's definitely got some playability that way. For sure, if you're a completionist, go and get in every single collectible, every sort of Wraithstone or power up for each one of them. War and Strife is going to keep you busy, and that's definitely the order of the day, with the map being so diverse and different ways that you can go. So yeah, absolutely love that plus point of the game. There's a slight vague tutorial that goes through the basics, but I probably could have done a bit better in explaining some of the stuff with the power-ups and the upgrades and the way that you change your abilities. It gives you the basics, but once you start looking in the actual menus yourself and you see all the different varieties, like telling you what the wraith stones are and how they perform and stuff, maybe it was me, maybe I just missed that, but I feel like that could be explained just a little bit better, but that's kind of nitpicking. I really like the fact they're trying to diversify with the Darksiders brand, and even though I didn't particularly like number 3, I can see why they went down the route of trying to make it more like a Dark Souls game. Darksiders is a good franchise. I feel like it's always been a little bit undercooked or living in the shadow of other games. I really like the pulpy and campy storylines. I do miss Mark Hamill's Joker being the voice of the companion in the first one. Maybe they can do something with him in the future and get him involved in another game. So yeah, absolutely go and buy Darksiders Genesis if you like dungeon crawlers. If you like the franchise, you're going to love it. If you like maybe a little bit action RPGs, you will like it, but maybe if not as much if you really prefer the loot-based style gameplay from games like Torchlight and Diablo. But for me, this was a great little game just to play, and I'm looking forward to diving back into it a little bit more. Go and give me a follow on Mixer if you want to see me play more diverse games rather than just the survival that I normally cover on my channel. And absolutely, yeah, let's hope they can add some more co-op action to it. I'd love, like I said, to play as other characters from the Darksiders universe. Also, don't forget as well, Xbox and PlayStation fans, you're going to be able to play this game in February. No exact release date as far as I can see, it just says February, but it is available right now on Windows 10 and also available on Google Stadia. I wonder how that's panning out, being a Google Stadia game. It might be its only saving grace. Let me know what you think about Darksiders Genesis. If you've played any of the old games, what could you expect from playing this one? And let me know if you've played it too. If you want to play with me, I played this on PC, so go and give me a follow on Steam and maybe we can hook up and play some of this sometime. Until next time, Ratbags, I will see you later.